We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanau Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are studying Panchadasi, chapter 4, Dvaita Viveka Prakaranam, consisting of 69 verses. We have finished 53 verses. Today we are going to start with the 54th verse. What do we discuss in this chapter? We are discussing Jiva Srishti and Ishwara Srishti. Srishti means creation, and Ishwara Srishti means creation by the Lord, Ishwara. Jiva Srishti means creation by a Jiva. What is the benefit of knowing these two Srishtis, these two creations? The main benefit is all human beings, when they are born with certain doshas, deficiencies in their mind. If everybody had a perfect mind, which does not get attached to the universe and knows the factual nature of the universe, then nobody would be having any worries or mental pain, which is called as sorrow, or in other words, is called as samsara. But our experience shows that we all suffer from sorrow. Where is this sorrow? If you ask this question, 99.9% of the people will not know where this originates. Very few people who come to Vedanta, they can understand the intricacies of how sorrow comes. This is one of the chapters of Panchadasi, which describes the entire nature of sorrow and where does it spring from, why does it come. All that details are given in this chapter. Not only Jiva Srishti, but also Ishwara Srishti. It teaches us where is the bondage for human beings. The bondage for the human beings is not in the creation of the Lord, because that is not causing any pain for him. The main pain comes because of Jiva Srishti. That is the first lesson we learn from this chapter. Ishwara Srishti is not the cause of bondage. Jiva Srishti is the cause of bondage. Then we ask the question, what is this Jiva Srishti? Then Swami Vidyaranya analyzes and tells us there are two types of Jiva Srishti. One is called as ashastriya Jiva Srishti, which is not in compliance with the Veda. Then there is a second Jiva Srishti called as shastriya Jiva Srishti. Almost all of us, we suffer from this ashastriya Jiva Srishti. That means which is not in keeping with the Vedic knowledge. And he breaks down the ashastriya Jiva Srishti, creation of the Jivas, into two parts. One, he calls it as manda. Manda means it's a mediocre. It is a low type of Jiva Srishti. And the second is called as tivra, Jiva Srishti. Tivra Jiva Srishti is something which we have to attack immediately because it is causing me a lot of problems. Tivra Jiva Srishti are the inner enemies of the mind, the polluted nature of the mind, which has got kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. All these 6 enemies we have seen in Bhagavad Gita. Then what is manda Jiva Srishti? Manda Jiva Srishti is the manorajya, the imagination of jivas into the past, and anxiety for the future, regret of the past. That is what is called as manorajya. You leave the mind free, it will think about everything in the world. That is how most of our minds are. You see, our minds are completely free, and we allow the mind to think about anything and everything in this world. But by learning this chapter, what I learn is I have to control the manorajya. I have to get rid of it finally. I have to control the tivra Jiva Srishti, which is all the inner enemies of kama, desire, krodha, anger, matsarya, jealousy, moha, delusion. All these are all inner enemies. For what? Inner enemies which do not allow me to even inquire into the nature of the self. That is why Swami Vidyaranya writes this chapter and says that if you are able to control these 2 Srishtis, the Jiva Srishtis, then you are on the highway of spiritual journey. There are no more obstacles for you. Just get the knowledge from the Upanishads about your real nature as Sakshi, Jiva, and be free. That is the grand picture of this chapter 4. Now let us go to the 54th verse, which we are supposed to begin today. The 54th verse, all these verses up to verse number 69 are all talking about the inner enemies of mankind. All of us, we suffer from it. How do I get liberated from these obstacles and realize my real self?
Tattvam buddhapi kamadit. Tattvam buddhapi kamadit. Nissesham na jahasi chet. Nissesham na jahasi chet. Yatheshtacharanam te syat. Yatheshtacharanam te syat. Karma shastrati langhinah. Karma shastrati langhinah.
These verses are beautifully chanted by Vijaya from Texas in the US. And she has painstakingly, every verse of this whole chapter 4 has been chanted by her. These verses are now talking about, suppose somebody says that I have got the knowledge of Brahman, but now can I enjoy a licentious life? I know I am consciousness. Gita has taught me, Upanishad has taught me. In the next 4 or 5 verses, Swami Vidyaranya lashes at those people who think in this direction. He also quotes Sureshwara Acharya, who also says that The moment you come to spirituality, you have to give up in toto the tivra Jiva Srishti and the manda Jiva Srishti. Here in this verse, what does he say? He says, if you have a false idea that I have attained liberation, and you do not give up your passions, I want to do so many things in life, and you keep at it, what he says is that you are going against the Veda. If you know that you are pure consciousness, and if you are sure that you are realized person, have got the clarity in the knowledge, then you will not even think in this direction. That is what he is trying to tell us. Tattvam buddhva api, even after knowing the reality completely, nisseshan, nisseshan means without any doubts, you are na jahati chet, I don't give up those inner qualities. I still become very angry with all my colleagues in the office. I don't have control over the anger. But if you say, no, 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 I'm sakshi of all this, he says that is not correct. That thinking is wrong. If you let your mind go into the world without any control, you are not a realized person. That is the bottom line for all these next 5-6 verses are going to come. And all these verses are telling you the same conclusion. Yatheshta charanam syat. If a person regards himself to be a knowledgeable person and leads a licentious behavior, unrestrained behavior against the Dharma Shastra, commits papam, it will be against Shastra. You may have glimpse of Atma when mind is ready for knowledge. Because of the power of the Guru's teaching, you may get a glimpse. But Vidyaranya warns, gives us a warning here. The glimpse is not final realization. Final realization is when you have completely given up the wrong qualities in your mind and you're having nishtha in the knowledge. The obstacles which are there in the mind should not be obstacles, they should be won over. The advantage of getting a glimpse of the Atma is for you to reflect upon it and abide in the truth. That is the purpose of Shravanam. Shravanam, you see, while we are listening to all these talks, many seekers, they are able to understand what the Shastra is saying. That I am Sakshi, I am not the body, I am not the mind. They can get a glimpse of that consciousness. I am Atma. Many people have come and told me this also. That I realize what the Shastra is telling. But I can't have that knowledge permanently. How do I get that? I want to have that I am that pure consciousness, jnanam, continuously with me, but I don't have that ability today. It is because the mind is weak. When the mind is weak, there is no nishtha. There is no consolidation, there is no affirmation of the truth by which you can abide in it as the ultimate reality. A glimpse is not firm knowledge. Jnanam is glimpse, it's a momentary cognition. Vijnanam is full knowledge, continuous cognition. What do you mean by continuous cognition? Ramana Maharishi is like the oil when you try to transfer from one bottle to another bottle, the way the oil flows without any break. Same way your mind should always be available for that knowledge in the background. Aham Dhamma Asmi. I am of the nature of Satchidananda Swarupa. Lord Krishna brings this out very beautifully in the 9th chapter. Idam tute guhyatamam pravakshyamyana suyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yajnatva moksha se shubhat. At the beginning of the 9th chapter, the first verse, the Lord says, I will teach you what is jnanam and what is vijnana. Momentary cognition of Atma is jnanam. Continuous cognition of Atma is vijnanam. And what is the bridge between the two? Why I don't have vijnanam, but I have only jnanam? That bridge which connects the two is the purity of mind. If I have chitta shuddhi, chitta ekagrata, focusing ability of the mind, then what will happen? My mind will never drop that notion, I am Atma. That is the ultimate success of all the spiritual study which I do. This is a personal treasure. It's a wealth for a jnani, which he cherishes it. He lives his whole life with this treasure. The jnani, if you might have seen some Swamijis who are not at all interested anything in the world, but what is the reason behind their success? It is because at the back of their mind, they have this subjective knowledge. Because of this subjective knowledge, they have the benefit of mukti. Mukti means freedom, which is Jivan Mukti. If you have Jivan Mukti, what happens? You don't have rebirth. Why do we get born again and again? Because my mind is not pure. I need to purify the mind. I want to get rid of the punyam and papam and be free. That is the goal, purpose of life according to the Veda. So by dropping this tivra and manda, Jiva Srishti, I climbed into the higher grade of purity, which gives me mukti. To know the self, I have to attain vijnanam. Knowing is one thing, realization is another thing. Vijnanam means realization. Jnanam means knowing. Vijnanam, in Vijnanam, you are not overpowered by kama, krodha, lobha. Therefore, what happens? Yateshtacharya is not possible. Yateshtacharya means licentious life. So a Swami or a Jnani he will always lead a good life because he has won over his likes and dislikes. Therefore, the Shastra does not give any vidhi and nisheda for him. Shuka Ashtakam is there is a beautiful verse here which is being quoted. What is the tattvam which we realize? It is beyond three gunas. When it is beyond three gunas means what? I will not have any doubts at all about the truth. When I don't have any doubts, what does it indicate? My papams are destroyed. I don't have any obstacles in my mind. I don't have any projections in my mind. The Maya, the Shakti which is there in this mind, it loses its power to get attached to the world because you have crossed the three gunas. Therefore, this Suktam, Ashtakam, Shukha Ashtakam, what does it say? There is no law for a jnani. He can live the way he wants. Shastra permits a jnani to live whatever life he feels like living, but most of the jnanis, they will always lead a licentious life and also they will do good for the society. All this is because of the firmness of Atma Jnana. Freedom is given to him because it's impossible for him to commit any sin. Loka Sangraha is his nature. Goodness, he works for the good of the society. So, Swami Vidyaranya says here, after knowledge, I can have desires. Kama is an error, is a very big error. And he develops this topic further and tells us in 4 or 5 verses, drop this attitude, wrong attitude, that I can live whatever way I want because I have the jnana now. Next verse.
Buddhadvaitastvatatvasya Buddhadvaitastvatatvasya Yatheshtacharanam yadi Yatheshtacharanam yadi Shunam tattvadrisham chaiva Shunam tattvadrisham chaiva Ko bedo shuchi bhakshane Ko bedo shuchi bhakshane.
There are several higher texts of Vedanta. One of the higher texts of Vedanta is called as Naishkarmya Siddhi. It's written by Sureshwara Acharya, a direct disciple of Shankaracharya. A very beautiful text for those people who have studied the Gita, Upanishads, Brahma Sutras, and they want to go further. They want to go dive deeper. For them, 3 other texts are recommended. Number 1 is Naishkarmya Siddhi. Number 2 is this Shuddhisara Samudharanam. And the third text is Vichara Saga. This is after you have absorbed the knowledge of the 3 primary texts, which is Bhagavad Gita, Prasthanatrayam, which is Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and Brahma Sutra. These three other texts which I just said, they take a long time. For those people who have got nothing else to do in life, they want to get absorbed in the knowledge of Atma. It is recommended for those people a self-study of these texts. So, Naishkarmya Siddhi is a text where Sureshwaracharya gives a complete blow to a seeker. He says, if you have desires to again go back into the world and then swim in the world of sense objects, what is the difference between you and a dog who also has a licentious life? He says, don't fall into that trap. Drop the Jiva Srishti completely. Many of you may ask, can I still lead a life? Yes, you can still lead a very good life, because it doesn't mean you stop living. It only means you stop living with the wrong idea of this world, a wrong notion of the world. You can live a beautiful life as a Jivan Mukta when you are free from the mind. A light mind is a mind which has got no projections inside. That mind can be used for so many different things for achieving social goals. You will be like that. That's what I said, that when you come to this spiritual study, what will happen is you will be a good father, you will be a good mother, you will be a good person in the office, because your mind has got more clarity. Most of the people, they are all swallowed up by their minds, whereas people who have got this knowledge of Panchadasi, they live like a free bird. They can fly any direction and then achieve what they want. Many jnanis have achieved tremendous things in life, tremendous things. Many of you still can see examples even in today's world. Several Swamijis are there who are achieving some things which normal human beings can't achieve. Why? Because the mind is clear. This is the secret which is given in Panchadasi, the 4th chapter. Be free from Manorajyam and the inner enemies of the mind. Vedanta Sara, also in the same type of a language of Naishkarmya Siddhi, criticizes those who are swallowed in desires after jnana. That is what is said here. The whole description, I'm not going line by line, but this is the essence of this verse. That don't lead a life like a dog, but be like God on earth. All Mahatmas, they lead a religious life, a life of serving the society, helping anybody. This is one of the beautiful things they teach in Vedanta. How should I lead my life? Lead a life where you say every day in the morning you get up, I will help others. That's all. Keep this goal. Let me be of some help to whoever comes across to me. This one path will put you in the right direction. That is the secret of this type of lessons which we get. Next verse.
बोधात् पुरा मनोदोष बोधात् पुरा मनोदोष मात्रात् क्लिश्रास्यथाधुना मात्रात् क्लिश्रास्यताधुना अशेषलोकनिन्दा चेति अशेषलोकनिन्दा चेति अहो ते बोधवैभवम् अहो ते बोधवैभवम्.
Here Vidyaranya says that what will happen if you entertain desires? Desires, when he says, not desires for normal living, yeah? You must always remember that desires of normal living is a very general requirement for all of us. Here he is talking about tivra desires, excess desires. So, what Vidyaranya says is, if you have that type of desires, then you not only will have mental imperfections of your own mind, but also others will also criticize you. What will they say? They'll say, see, he has studied the Bhagavad Gita. He has studied Upanishads, Panchadasi and all that. But still, look at his behavior. That is what will happen to those people if you engage in this unlicentious behavior. Licentious behavior is something which the Veda always criticizes. I have a license to do whatever I want as per my likes and desires. That is what is called as licentious. I can do whatever I want. These notes here are just the revision notes of 54, 55, 56. I'm not going through them in this session, but you can revise it whenever you're reading the notes. So the last verse is only trying to say that you will also have the problem of censure from the society. People will not look at you in the right way. Next verse. All these verses are simple verses, so I'm not spending too much time behind them.
आदितुल्यत्वं विद्वराहादितुल्यत्वं मा काङ्क्षी तत्त्वविद्भवान् मा काङ्क्षी तत्त्वविद्भवान् सर्वधी दोषसन्त्यागात् सर्वधी दोषसन्त्यागात् लोकैः पूज्यस्व देववत् लोकैः पूज्यस्व देववत्.
This is another verse in a similar language. Vidyaranya says, free yourself from the defects of your mind. Again and again, he warns us that identify your defects, try to correct them, then he will tell us later on how to correct them also. In the following, after 2-3 verses, he will teach us how to correct those defects. But here in this verse, he says, the tivra ashastriya Jiva Srishti, which is kama, krodha and all that, you must give it up before taking up the knowledge itself, because that will give you sadhana chatushtaya. What happens to the manorajyam, which is the manda type of Jiva Srishti? Manorajyam is basically vishaya chintanam, dwelling upon the sense objects is called as manorajyam. It is also called as Shobhana Abhyasa. I will explain that in the next 2-3 verses. We are going to see that. But a knower of the truth will not dwell in that, and he will conserve the energy which is used in dwelling on the sense object. He will conserve and then use that same energy to dwell on the higher truth. That is the secret of a jnana. All of us have the same amount of energy. By and large, the mental energy given to us comes from the food which we eat. Bhagavad Gita says the subtle portion becomes the mind. It nourishes the mind. The gross portion is thrown out. So the energy which we get from the food which we eat is the energy which we use for all our activities. Physical activities, mental activities, verbal activities. That energy, if you can conserve that energy and redirect that energy to study the Shastra in Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, that is the transformation of a Jiva. Then what happens? You realize that you are Atman. And then the mind gets the power, it gets the strength to say that whatever is happening to the mind has got nothing to do with me. I am free because I dwell continuously on the Atma. That is what is the objective behind these verses. Vidyaranya wants us again and again to dwell on Atma. There are certain verses in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5. When we study the verses, we don't understand the meaning of that. But when I put it along in this context, you will see the difference. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavit pashyan shrinvan spishan jigran ashnan gachan sopanan swasan. Then there is another word. The next another verse is also there. What does Lord Krishna says? He says that a jnani is involved in all these activities. He is seeing things, he is hearing, he is touching, he is smelling, he is eating, he is going, he is sleeping, he is breathing. But what does the jnani have in his mind? In his mind, the thought flow is, I don't do anything. It is the nature of Prakriti which is acting. I am the consciousness principle. I am the Atma principle. I am the awareness principle. This is what I'm trying to achieve even in the meditation. Body is breathing. Thoughts may come. But I must be glued to the core of my personality. The core of my personality is I am the awareness principle. That is the truth. Again and again, this is the only truth which I have to learn and I have to abide in it. There is nothing else which is taught in the whole Prasthana Traya. I am of the nature of consciousness. I am not the body. I am not the mind. Neither I am the world. All these three things are anatma. I am Atma. That is called as living in the truth. So this verse is again saying, you live in the world like God. When you have given up your doshas of the mind, you have become God on earth. What is the difference between a jnani and a jnani? The shad ripus, the inner enemies, are all conquered by a jnani. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These are the 6 inner enemies. And Jnani has given up all this. He becomes a walking God on earth because he is free. It is actually, if you really know this technique of controlling the sense organs and controlling the mind, 90% of the battle of spiritual learning is already won. And yoga, the Ashtanga yoga, helps a lot in this process because it makes your mind calm, it makes your senses calmer. They are not rushing and gushing into the world of sense objects. You will still find that, but you see, it's not that you are a perfect human being after you have done Ashtanga yoga, or you have learned, if you have done Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyashanam, you are not 100% perfect individual. But the effect of the 3 gunas, especially the Rajo guna and the Tamo guna, will come down and you will increase your Sattva guna. That only human beings can do. Birds and animals, they live an instinctive life governed by the law of karma. Finished. They don't, it is a pre-planned instinctive life. They are born in the world, they die, but there is no growth in them. Whereas you and I can transform ourselves and drop the Jiva Srishti and live a life of Jivan Mukti. That is the Purushartha called as Moksha Purushartha. It's a very rare power which very rarely human beings come to realize this power in themselves. How to drop this Kama and Krodha, that is the next topic which Vidyaranya will teach us. Verse number 58.
काम्यादिदेशदृष्ट्याध्याः कामादित्यागहेतवः कामादित्यागहेतवः प्रसिद्धो मोक्षशास्त्रेषु तानन्विष्य सुखी भव तानन्विष्य सुखी भव.
Vidyaranya gives this technique here of controlling the mind. In the next 2-3 verses, he is going to teach us that. He is going to elaborate on that from here onwards. What he says in this verse is that our passions can be overcome by understanding how the mind's nature is. He is going to teach us what is the nature of the mind, how does it go out into the world of objects and beings, which creates likes and dislikes in me. Then I do actions to fulfill my desires and I suffer. This is the nature of the human mind. So what he says is Kamyadi dosha drishti adhyaha. Start seeing the dosha, the defects in your mind, in your drishti of objects and beings, in your vision of objects and beings. See whether you are having a defect or not. he will tell us there is a defect. And what is the defect? How to correct the defect is the subject matter for the next 3-4 verses. Here he's just giving us an introduction. He says, you need to adopt certain means, conquer the passions, and lead a happy life. Objects and beings are there in the universe, but that is the external world. Likes and dislikes are there in my mind. That is subjective. Your like and my likes may be different. Your dislike may be different, my dislike may be different. Therefore, what causes the difference between you and me is the mind. It is not the objects and beings outside. External world is created by the Lord for the fulfillment of the punya papam of all the jivas in the world. The creation is made. So in the creation, there is no defect. The defect is in our thinking. Mind sees one side of the coin. What I have to do is pratipaksha bhavana. See the other side of the coin. This is one of the techniques, a psychological exercise which is prescribed by the Veda itself. Suppose, for example, I think that I'm a very angry person. What the Veda tells us is, stop saying I am an angry person. Stop saying that, at least verbally. Don't keep on saying I am suffering, I am angry, I have got a lot of desires, I have got jealousy. Stop saying all that externally. That's the first exercise. Then the second exercise it says is pratipaksha bhavana. Try to develop in your own mind the opposite nature of what you want in life. Start telling yourself, I am a calm person. Keep telling that yourself. You may get angry, but what you have to deliberately think is, I am very patient. I have patience. I have developed titiksha. I have got compassion for others. Why do we get angry? Because we think they are separate, I am separate, and we start building jealousy. That can be overcome when you know that jealousy is only in the mind, but it is not the nature of the person. Bhajagovindam says, Putra Eshana, Vitta Eshana, Loka Eshana. Putra means desire for children. Vitta means desire for wealth. And Loka Eshana means desire for different worlds. Swarga Loka. So a lot of people, they spend all their energy for these three desires. Panchadasi says, drop these desires and be happy in the higher Atma. That is the central message of Bhajagovinda. Kathopanishad also, many of you have done Kathopanishad with me. You may remember this verse of the first chapter, where Nachiketa says to Lord Yama, the Lord of Death. The Lord of Death tells him, you ask for the world in the Swarga, I will give you Swarga right now. Nachiketa says, what is the use of any world where it will decay? The sense organs, suppose the world doesn't decay, but the senses in the man, they will decay. So even the longest life in a human being is of no use, because there is no permanence in that. Therefore, here he rejects this entire world of objects and beings which the Lord Yama entices Nachiketa. Because of one reason, they are impermanent, they will not be there tomorrow. Even if they are not there, if they are there, my sense organs will not have the power to enjoy them after some time because they will lose the vigor. And I keep on engaging with the sense objects, it will make me weaker and weaker. Therefore, towards the world, he says, cultivate vairagya. Nachiketa is the best example for vairagya. So, if I develop the pratipaksha bhavana, I can get vairagyam from the world. Another verse in the same line of thinking is, the Nachiketa says, man cannot be satisfied by any amount of wealth. He will have temporary comfort in life, but not fulfillment in life. Therefore, the boon which you are giving me, Lord Yama, I don't want it. What do you want then? He asks for Atma jnana. So we all have to be like Nachiketa. Even if we get 1% or 2% of the vairagyam which he had, we will be walking on the path of spirituality. There's another Shiva Paradash Shamapannash Stotram, which talks about the same topic. To realize our self is the, as per advice of the Guru, is the highest benefit of this human life. There is no use of having wealth and other benefits in the world if you don't know self-knowledge. When desire comes, attack it at the root by viveka shakti. For many of us, the objects bind us. The love for the objects will bind us. We think of the object, therefore, it will bind us. But many a times, it is not the objects which bind us, but it is our dislike for certain human beings, which is called as hate. That keeps us in samsara. I don't like that person. I can't even see his face. Many people you'll come across who will be like this. They steal our vitality of the mind. When we see the dosha, the defect in this type of thinking, how it drains my energy, I keep on thinking about that person again and again and again. Cultivate pratipaksha bhavana. Again, try to, it is a deliberate exercise, but try it out. It will work. Because viveka will come. Once you start doing that, my mind will see what is the dosha, what is the defect. It will become more clear. Then vairagya will come. Then titiksha will come. Forbearance will come. I can live with the person. I can be focused. I will have faith in the scriptures. These are all things which will come when I start developing a pratipaksha bhavana and get rid of my inner enemies. This is the first aid for the inner enemies. The ultimate means is the Atma Vidya. That Vidyaranya will say in the later verses, but right now what he says is, try to develop pratipaksha bhavana, opposite thinking to control the mind. and attain Jivan Mukti. So this is the Jiva Srishti which I have been describing to you all this while. Shastriya and Ashastriya. Shastriya Jiva Srishti is Shravanam Mananam Nividyasa. Ashastriya Jiva Srishti is tivra type is Kama Krodha and manda type is Manorajya. How to drop Manorajya? That is the next topic. The wandering nature of the mind. Here, Swami Vidyaranya uses Bhagavad Gita's methodology. Let's see how he uses it. We'll see.
Tyajyata kamadihi tyajyatameva kamadihi manorajyetu kakshatihi manorajyetu kakshatihi asesha dosha bijatvat ashesha dosha bijatvat kshanir bhagavate ritaah kshanir bhagavate ritaah.
Here Vidyaranya asks a question of a Purvapakshi. Suppose there is a seeker and he asks this question. Why should I not let my mind wander? This Manorajyam, what is wrong in it? It is an imagination after all. It is a play of the mind on the objects of desire. Let me think. Then Vidyaranya says, if you have this type of a question, the correct thinking is such mental preoccupations are the seeds of evil. As mentioned in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, as it's mentioned in chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, also in the it is mentioned in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 62 and 63. I think it is 62 and 63. We'll be seeing those verses in the next session. 62 and 63, that's correct. So, Vidyaranya is going to tell us that dwelling on those in the mind is a seed for all evil which can come in the life. So, drop these desires before jnanam itself. Manorajyam by itself is not a problem, but it has an impact on my very life. It is the cause of all the defects which comes to me. These are the two verses which Vidyaranya will quote in the next verse. He has copied the same verse of Bhagavad Gita directly. In the next verse is this one, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. The two verses, they are beautiful verses of the Bhagavad Gita telling us the psychology behind desire. These are what the depth of this knowledge, which is given by Lord Krishna in the second chapter. You won't even find it in many advanced textbooks of psychology. In very simple verses, he gives us the whole psychology of the mind. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bijayate krodhat bhavati sammoha sammoha smriti vipramaha smriti bramshat buddhi nashaha Buddhinashat pranashyati. For those who have done the Bhagavad Gita, you will automatically remember these two verses, because in the Bhagavad Gita talk, I have gone into very big depth in these two verses. This is the 60th verse. Let us see. I'll just, or we will see this. It's a new topic, so I think I will take it up in the next session. But keep in mind that these two verses are extremely important verses from the Bhagavad Gita. We have to. It takes a long time in life to understand these two verses subjectively. We can understand it objectively, but to realize this in our own mind, it takes a long time. And to come out of this is a Herculean task. It's not easy, but with practice, abhyasa, like what Lord Krishna says, it can be done. And again, these are all the tips of how to lead a good life. Okay, I will start with the 60th verse next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There are no questions on the chat box. Shanmugam is unmuting all of you. So if you have any questions, you are free to ask them now.
Yes, Shekharji.
Yeah, Preeti, go ahead.
Yes. So my question is, as you mentioned that, we are born with these doshas, these papas.
Correct.
So, yes, we understand this intellectually, but to realize this removal of doshas, papas, also necessary, right?
It is not 100% necessary. What you have to do is keep reminding yourself that Nirvana Shatkam Sloka, which says, I have no punyam, I have no papa. My real nature is, I am pure consciousness. The more number of times you are able to say it in meditation, these facts, what you will gain is the strength of the mind. You don't have to remove each and every papam and punyam in your mind, in the karana sharira. You don't have to. The mind gets the strength to say that the mind is a false entity. What you do is you falsify the mind as mithya and say, I am Satyam, the mind is Mithya, Jagan Mithya. Mind is Mithya means the universe is Mithya, because the universe is something which comes and goes in the mind, in the three states of the mind. So, initially what we say is you have to purify the mind, you have to do Vairagyam, Viveka, Samadha, Shatka, Sampati. That is the first lesson. But later on, for an advanced seeker, we say that don't worry about the papam and punyam in your karana shariram. They will get dropped automatically when your mind gains the strength to say, I am Atma. Because you are an advanced seeker, I'm giving you this tip, which is given in the Shastra. In the advanced text, it says, in the normal text like Bhagavad Gita and all that, they will only talk about Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, all that as a preliminary step. Till your mind is purified. Purification means you have made that mind like, it's like removing the poison from the cobra. The moment you have removed the poison from the cobra, then even if it stings, nothing will happen. Similarly, the mind, it will project, but nothing will happen to you because you have removed the sting from the mind and you have conquered the mind. You can bear that the snake as an alankara now. You can bear the mind like an alankara. This is what Shankaracharya says in one of the texts. Let the mind be an alankara, an ornament for you, rather than be a bandha for you, obstacle for you. This happens by two things. One is, initially you try to purify the mind by trying to say, okay, I will remove the inner enemies, manorajyam, and tivra, Jiva Srishti and all that. These are all the preliminary steps. But the final step is what? Knowing that the mind, it is a fact, it is a truth. Now, this truth can be only given out by the Veda. No, nothing else can give this. There is no other pramanam for this. There is no other proof for this. So, are you getting it now?
Yes, Shikharji, very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, good. This was the same question which many other seekers had asked me also in the past. But anyway, good that you asked, because this is a very, very favorite question of all the seekers. They say that you keep on telling us purify the mind, do karma yoga, upasana yoga, but then ultimately you're saying that, how to realize myself, So, but then this is what is said in Naishkarmya Siddhi, it's said in Vichara Sagara, it is said in Shruti Sara Samudharanam. And then when you read the bhashyams, Shankaracharya's bhashyams of Upanishads, he brings it out in the bhashyams. He brings it out in the Taittiriya Bhashyam. So when you learn the Taittiriya Bhashyam, the commentary of Shankaracharya on Taittiriya Upanishad, or Mandukya Upanishad, or Keno Upanishad, some of the places he says that there are two levels of teaching. One is at the junior level, where you give certain steps so that the mind is able to hold this knowledge. Suppose your mind is not developed, and I tell you straight away that you are Atma, it will not be able to hold it. It cannot hold that knowledge. Like a baby, it has to grow to a certain extent, feel that its feet can hold on the ground, and then it starts, once it takes the baby steps, then till that time you hold the fingers and say, come on, I will walk with you. So similarly is the preliminary exercises, but finally, in order to attain and tell yourself Nirvana Shatkam mantras, those mantras are all meant for people who have got a purified mind. And those are the songs of a jnani. I have understood Atma, I am free. I have no punyam, no papa, nothing. But then, is his body alive? Yes, body is still alive. It is still got the prarabdha karma. But it is like that poisonous snake whose fangs have been removed. So remember the example. That example comes in Vivek Chodamani. Okay, who else? Anybody else has any other question? The two principles which I said today in the meditation, keep a note of that. These are very fundamental principles if you want to understand Vedanta well. If you want to understand I am consciousness, keep these two principles in mind. I am not anything which is an object of consciousness. All objects, including my body, because is anatma. My mind is anatma because it is experienced by me. So the fundamental law is, are you experiencing it? Then it is not you. Are you experiencing the physical pain, mental pain, intellectual pain? That is not you, because it is an object of consciousness. Are you seeing the absence of body, mind, and the universe? Yes, 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 I can see the absence. Every day I see the absence in my sleep. That is consciousness. The knowledge was not there before, but now the knowledge is there. This is what is called as the viveka shakti. Do the viveka. It's so easy. Waking state and sleep state. I am there in the sleep state or not. Nobody can deny that he is not there. Otherwise, he will never go to sleep. If you tell a person that you're not there in sleep, he will stop sleeping. He will put something in his eyes and be awake the whole night. But he knows very well, I am there. I don't lose myself. That is consciousness. That is the awareness which the Upanishad wants to bring out, that viveka shakti in your mind to understand the difference between the waking mind and the pure consciousness. There is nothing, you can't use anything else except the viveka shakti of the mind to see the difference between the two. Okay, good. Any other questions?
Namaste.
Yeah, Ajita, tell me.
Yeah. We are thinking that I am thinking so that I am not this body, mind, intellect.
Yes.
I am consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah. This I am asking that related to Nirvana Shatkam.
Yes.
If I am chanting Nirvana Shatkam,
yes,
that will complement this thought, yeah.
Absolutely right. If you're chanting Nirvana Shatkam, it will complement this thought, and what chanting will do is, one day it will come into your meditation and it will remain permanently.
It will hit my mind.
Yes, it will clean up your mind completely, and you will be able to abide in the thought that I am Atma. I am Satchidananda Rupa Atma. That is what is the Nirvana Shatkam.
Yeah.
It negates.
Yeah.
I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the punyam, I am not the papam, I am not the gross body, I am not the subtle body, I am not the causal body. Who am I? Satchidananda Swarupa.
May I ask one more thing? Because
yes,
this chanting will make our mind fertile to accept that consciousness during meditation, during, yes, all the time. Maybe we can be like that.
Yes, that is the only goal of life. If you are able to do that, you are a very blessed soul. If you are able to remember this message of Nirvana Shatkam in your day-to-day life, if that is like the tambura shruti at the back of your mind, and you continue playing the roles in your life. You are a mother, you are a sister, you are a colleague, all that you keep playing. What you will remember is, I am that, but the body and mind is playing a role in the universe.
In the universe, because when I link like that, I remember when in my childhood how our mother was preparing us. Do bhajans, do kirtanas, then you will be able to see God.
Yes. Now, you see, what you learned in the childhood is the one which has pushed you into coming to this talk
Yeah.
and listen to this talk. It is that memory which your parents have taught you in the beginning. But that is giving you the punyam. Because of that punyam, you are able to come and listen to the truth today.
Yes, of course.
That is the benefit of those things which we have done earlier.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you. Anybody else has a question? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Jacqueline.
Just now you were saying that example, you are angry, but no, I'm just saying example, the statement, I am angry.
Correct.
But in terms of pure consciousness, blissful, which is always happy, abundance and joy.
Yes.
And for us, when we are angry, we say, I'm angry. But honestly, any negativity, even though we know it's negative, but we shouldn't utter it, right? We should say, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm not
Absolutely,
angry, right?
yes. You see, while you are angry, you will not be able to say this. But the moment you come out of that anger, immediately you will remember this truth which you have learned in the classes here, and that truth will make you remember, and it will enable you to just walk absolutely free after the emotions have died down. That is the beauty of learning the Veda. The moment it's not that you will not be angry, it is not that you will not have emotions in life, it is not that you will not have negative emotions in life, but what this study does is, it will enable you to come out of those emotional negative attitudes in a split second. You will be able to walk through again, without any problems. That is the benefit of this study, because you know that I'm always free from the mind. It is a fact which you have ingrained in your mind. See, it has gone deep in your consciousness. I'm not the mind. My mind has played tantrums. It has played tantrums. It has pushed me to go and buy a new car. I don't need that car. I can take the MRT and go. I can take the bus and go, but then I had to take a loan and buy that car. It pushed me into a corner. But you realize, oh, it's my mind. I have to control it in my future. So you're growing. Similarly, any emotion, you see, you became angry with your sister. Okay, for nothing, and it is all due to delusion in the mind. We are going to study the next two verses are extremely important to understand the nature of the mind. Next week, attend the session. It will help you to understand how delusion, the mind works.
Okay, so that means we shouldn't, we should not amplify it by the wordings,
Yes.
as a physical person, even it's just example, in fact, as a mind or as a living, everybody may have problems, right? So instead of we say, this is my problem, how to get rid of it, we shouldn't be saying that. We should keep on saying that we are blessed in certain way and things will come in certain way, right?
Absolutely right. You're right. You see, in another text, Shankaracharya, the author, the great teacher, he says that dwelling on the negative qualities of the mind is a mental fever.
Okay.
It's a mental fever.
Oh, that's very strong.
Very strong. I want to give you the blow, Don't dwell on all your negatives again and again. It's a fever. They call it jwara. In Sanskrit,
they call it what?
it's jwara. Jvra. Jvara.
Oh,
Jvara. Jvara means fever.
okay.
It's a mental
Oh.
fever. You're thinking
Okay.
about all your negativities. Why am I in this pain? Why again and again telling everybody I'm suffering, I'm suffering, I'm suffering. You're not only causing pain for yourself, but you're also causing pain for others by saying it loudly.
Mm.
So what you have to do is tell yourself, I have titiksha. Titiksha means forbearance. I learn to live and accept, absorb these painful situations as and when they come. It is a part and parcel of this body-mind's experience of this world. That's all. It will happen. I cannot stop it. It is uncontrollable. But I am very blessed because I have the knowledge. I am not that mind. I am Atma. I am pure awareness. Keep telling yourself there is no other magic pill except telling yourself, I am this pure Atma. That is the magic pill which will bring you out of all your sorrows. Guaranteed. This is given by the Veda. It is given by the Upanishads.
Okay, got it. That means never amplify it with physical voice. Whatever it is, just keep the momentum of the
that's correct. It is a part and parcel of the attribute of the body and mind, but it is not me. That's all.
Okay, appreciate.
Thank you, Jacqueline. They are very deep questions. What you are asking is extremely deep, but it benefits all. Anybody else has any other questions? So next week, the two important mantras, 62 and 63 of chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, we are going to discuss how the human being falls from the level of the highest spiritual being. How does he fall? That is going to be explained next week. We have about 10 more verses. We'll finish it in about two. I would like to finish it in about 2 sessions. So hopefully we'll see how it goes. Thank you. Good night.